So there's a number of ways to kind of deal with that. And so if you're in grad school, if you're preparing for grad school, these are some of the ways that you can actually deal with stress. What's up, fam? Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. This is Phil's Guide to PsyD. My name is Phil Sarpon. I am a clinical psychology doctoral student, and some of the things that we talk about in this channel is psychology, wellness, and some tips and guides to kind of get you through grad school. So today we're going to be talking about stress and some of the ways to deal with stress. Now, stress is something that everybody deals with at some point in time. And one of the most important things to know about stress is that it not only affects your physical health, but it can also affect your mental and emotional health as well. One of the ways that it does this is that it actually starts in the brain, and your brain releases sort of this chemical, and from your brain all the way to your adrenal glands. And from your adrenal glands, there will be this release of something called cortisol. Cortisol is kind of known as the stress hormone, and what it does is that it actually does a number of things physiologically. It'll increase your heart rate, it'll kind of increase your metabolism, you'll kind of get this feeling of adrenaline kind of pumping through your blood and everything like that. And in the short term, it's actually really good for you because it kind of keeps you awake. If you have to study late at night, or if you have a test the next day, or if you have something that's really urgent that's coming up, you'll kind of get that sort of rush to where you can be awake, you're more alert, and you're more focused. Now, that is a good thing in the short term, but when people are going through stressful situations long term, that's where it starts to affect a lot of physical components of your body. It'll affect your sleep patterns, it'll affect your digestive system, it'll affect a number of things related to your physical health as well. So that's where in the long term it becomes a problem, because there's way too much chronic cortisol release going on. So there's a number of ways to kind of deal with that. And so if you're in grad school, if you're preparing for grad school, these are some of the ways that you can actually deal with stress, whether in grad school or even outside of grad school in your own life. So one of the top ways is, you probably guessed it, is physical exercise is a great way to regulate that cortisol release. Now, that's one of the things where it's like, as you exercise, whether it's meditation or yoga or some type of running or physical strength exercise, you are bringing in that oxygen to your body, you're regulating your metabolism, you're also regulating that cortisol release. And that is something that's actually going to help you with your stress hormones. It's going to help you to feel more relaxed, your muscles will feel less tense. It's gonna be really, really good for your body and your heart and your lungs and all of your breathing mechanisms. And so that's one of the greatest benefits of exercise, is that it does help you to reduce those stress hormones, not just from a mental or emotional level, but also from a physical level. A lot of times when we feel something in our physical body, it affects our mental health. So when we regulate cortisol through exercise physically, it actually does have some benefits emotionally and mentally as well. The other thing that you can do is that you can actually go into a little bit more of a healthy eating plan. It doesn't mean actually going on a diet per se, but it just means eating more good food than bad food. That's one of the things as a personal trainer that I tell my clients all the time, that it's not necessarily about dieting and restricting your calories. It's more so about eating more good food than bad food. And if that means not going to fast food restaurants every other day or every day, that's part of it, right? It's like slowly you're cutting out the bad food and you're eating way more of the good food, and you're doing it for a longer period of time. You're doing it not just as like a 2-month plan, but actually as a lifestyle. Once you can kind of get into a lifestyle, that's where you can actually start to see the benefits of that. And so whether you realize it or not, eating healthy is something that could really regulate not just your hormones, but your physiological symptoms, as well as dealing with stress. So definitely focus on that if you think that might be an issue for you. All right, the other thing is getting enough sleep. Now, once again, when it comes to getting enough sleep, it really does depend on people, where they're at. Some people can go 4 hours a night, some people can go 5 hours a night, some people need 8 hours a night. So it really is kind of up to you. What I will say is that what's more important is, again, the consistency, right? So you don't want to go from having a good 7 or 8 hours of sleep and then having 4 hours the next day. You want to kind of keep a consistent sleep schedule. And something that actually helps a lot of people is just kind of keeping a sleep diary for basically logging out how many hours a night they're getting in their sleep. Some of the practical things that you can do is that you can, number 4, break apart your to-do list. And so that means just getting organized, figuring out what is actually making you stressed out. Is it school? Is it work? Is it family? Kind of just breaking it apart and kind of figuring it out. A lot of times people will actually write out their to-do list every single day just to get an idea of what could be the stressful areas of the day, right? That way they can kind of deal with it. They can kind of prepare as they come up to it. So that could just be something to think about. The whole realm of this is sort of a mindfulness training where you're thinking about your body, you're thinking about your mind, you're thinking about how you can kind of target around dealing with stress. And so that's really the biggest thing with this video that I want to kind of project to you guys is this area of mindfulness. Number 5 kind of goes along with that, and it's, again, taking note of your stressors. What exactly is stressing you out? You know, if you realize that, wow, after this particular event, I got really stressed out, that's something to take note of, because you can kind of file that into your brain, and next time you can kind of think of a game plan in order to figure that out. I think once you are more aware of your surroundings and what's actually causing you stress, then you can actually start to do something about it. Number 6 is asking for help. You know, hopefully there are people in your life that you can go to when you need help, and it's okay to ask for help. This is something for me that I really had to work on, because I can be so just naturally independent and just want to do everything on my own. But then I realized that it's not only okay to ask for help, but it's actually good to ask for help, and it's really beneficial for me. And so that's something that you can think about, is that when you're going through some of these struggles, it's okay to open your mouth and pull someone aside and say, hey, this is what's going on, I need some help. Most of the time, most people are more than willing to help you out. Number 7 is to go back to doing some of the things that makes you happy. A lot of times when we get stressed out, we actually forget about doing the things that we actually used to do as stress relievers. That could be going out, hanging out with family, hanging out with friends, you know, playing games, like whatever it is. Whatever is your escape moment where you can actually go to and have some fun, and stress relief is actually really beneficial. Even when you're stressed out, it's really good to kind of keep those things into your schedule, plan them into your schedule, because that way you can not only forget about them, but it is going to be sort of that way that you can kind of look forward to, whether it's in the beginning of the week or at the end of the week. You can kind of look forward to that moment of stress relief where you can kind of go out and do the thing that you love to do. Number 8 is practicing introspection. So again, this all goes back to, as you get more stressed out, there's things that are kind of going in, right? There are things that are going into your mind that are stressing you out. And so as you journal, as you talk about it to someone, or as you journal it on paper or on a computer, you're getting those things back out. And so that's really important. I think that's one of the things, is that as life gets harder or you get burdened by certain things, it's important to have those times where you can kind of release those things out in a positive and in a healthy way for yourself. And so the last 2 things, number 9, is that you can actually just focus on being in the moment. This goes back to the mindfulness. So in each of these points, there was an area of mindfulness that you could actually work on. And this one is just specifically, basically just about mindfulness and being aware of what's happening. When you're stressed out, where do you feel that tension? Do you feel that tension in your shoulders? Do you feel it in your abdomen? Do you feel it in your chest? Do you feel it in your legs? Do you feel it in your head? Like, where do you feel that tension? And a lot of times you can do a lot of mindfulness exercises where you will basically just kind of tense up that area that you feel tense, and then just slowly release. And that's a great way to kind of relieve that tension. And finally, number 10 is to give yourself plenty of grace. A lot of times when people that are in grad school or that are getting ready for grad school, you probably have really high expectations for yourself. You're sort of a workaholic, you kind of go at it. And a lot of times we can kind of stress ourselves out because of all the things that we want to do in life and all the things that we have to do in the moment. And it's important to give yourself that grace, forgive yourself, because there are going to be times where you're not going to have a good day, or you're not going to have your best week, or you're not going to be your best self. And it's important to kind of self-reflect and give yourself that grace and that understanding that it's okay and that you're human and it's okay, that you can kind of pick yourself back up and go about your day and do the best that you can. All right, so those are some of the 10 ways to kind of deal with stress. We talked about some ways that you can kind of deal with it on a practical level. So like writing it down, taking a note of your stressor, journaling it out, talking to someone about it, and even some of the mental and emotional ways that you can deal with it as well, by giving yourself that grace, forgiving yourself, and just having that introspection that, okay, you know, this is what's going on, this is how it's affecting my body, and now this is how I can deal with it in a practical way, in a way that's healthy, and in a way that's going to be good and effective for my mental and physical health. And so those are the 10 ways to kind of deal with stress. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you guys have any one of those things that was particularly something that you're trying to work on, definitely put it down in the comment section below. But if you have not already, like and subscribe, smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.